Hello everyone, welcome back to the Mystery Shana 33. I am Tatiana. I'm here to help solve more missing women, children, and men cases. I'm here to break the codes if I see any. I'm here to see where their bodies are located if they know. And I'm also here to see if they are alive, deceased, bodies through the exchange of identity or misidentity. You already should know who's involved, so let's begin. This is titled, Over a Century Ago, a Mysterious Axe Murderer Rode the Rails, chopping up families along the way. This is basically what happened to my family, okay? Before the times, okay? This how Emmett got killed. This how everybody got killed. I'm the only survivor of this. Okay? Don't ask me why. I don't know. Shit, I don't even know why or how. To be honest, I don't know. Okay? Like everything just happened so fast, y'all. I'm everywhere, okay? I mean, I don't know either. Okay? James's and all my old friends, they killed all their family members up. The black historians people, okay? Like, just chop them up. Like, the house is down the street, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how it happened, okay? It's crazy, okay? So let's begin. Around 1912, there was a spate of killings in the American Midwest, the most famous of which was the axe murder of a group of 8 people in Visca, Ohio. As baseball statistics and historical crime student Bill James read about the murders, he theorized that there was other murders that are authorized at the time or at present time, never linked to the same criminal. In his book, The Man from the Frame, the solving of a century-old serial killer mystery, he, along with his daughter, Rachel McCarthy James, pieced together news stories from throughout the country during that time, documenting murders from Florida to Washington State that are eerily similar. They also create a profile of the man they feel is responsible for most of them, based on the details of his crimes, most of which are specific and consistent from murder scenes to murder scene, including the fact that the suspect always killed in a close proximity to a train station. Axe murderers need a quick escape route, after all. Below you find the story of one of the mass murders James believed may be attributed to this mysterious and terrifying man. Okay? So yeah, as I just told you. The Scandalous Justice. Houston Heights, Texas, founded by Oscar Martin Carter in 1891, was the first planned community in Texas. In 1910, it was separated from Houston by about a mile, but linked by streetcars and railroads. Houston at that time was a city of 78,000. Houston Heights was annexed by Houston in 1918. On the night of Friday, March 11, 1910, Gus Guzzler, a lineman with Houston Electric, hosted a sort of entertainment for family and friends with his wife Allison at their home at 732 Ashland Street in Houston Heights. Whew! The Scotsons lived in an unpainted 3-room cottage 50 feet from the Missouri-Kansas City Railroad. The Caddy Railroad, we will see the Caddy several more times in our book. There was beer, piano, guitar, and good company. The couple partied pretty hard considering they had 2 young children, a 3-year-old girl named Bessie and a 6-month-old who may have been a boy and who may have been named Cindy. Although accounts are not consistent, the house was in the segregated right area, 1 block over from the black part of the neighborhood. I just asked y'all that. I was writing, so all my siblings were there, okay? But goddamn, when I say I'm finna talk about it, that means you say it, okay? You don't just say it's just me. Okay, amen, hallelujah. The grown-ups was handling business, okay, on the other side of town. Gus was 23. Alice was 21. At the party, she wore a tight-fitting, low-cut pink dress that showed several inches of her legs. Provocateur in that area, ain't like Bayou, when dresses normally cover the tops of the shoes. For several days following March 11, there was no sign of life around the Scots's house. The house was locked up tight and all of the curtains had been drawn. An African-American woman named Maggie Nelson did the Scots's laundry. On Wednesday, March the 16th, Miss Nelson found the laundry from the previous week still hanging on the clothesline. The house still locked and the Scots's gun visibly underneath their house. Miss Nelson talked to a neighbor lady who had also been concerned about the family, and the neighbor lady called the sheriff. The sheriff pulled the guns out from under the house, 2 rusty rifles and a shotgun, and recognized the smell of death emanating from the residence. Later in the day, on March the 16th, police broke into the house where they found the bodies of 5 people, 2 men, a woman, and 2 small children. All 5 had apparently been murdered with an axe. The bodies had been piled on top of one another, and Miss Gus Alice was found nude except for a thin nightshirt. The little girl Bessie was also found almost nude. There was blood all over the walls. The crime scene was described as the most gruesome of all the tragedies that had occurred in and about Houston. The stench in the house was so overpowering that police had to open the windows for several hours before they could begin the investigation. A swarm of flies filled the room where the bodies was found, so they been dead in. The first thought was that Gus had found his wife with another man and had murdered the 2 of them, then killed the children and taken his own life. This theory was abandoned when it was discovered that Gus had been hit in the back of the head with an axe or some other blunt instrument, and also that his body was on the bottom of the body pile, suggesting that he may have been the first to die. Yes, that's him. The extra dead man in the house was Walter Eastman, who had been living with the Scuzz family, and well, we have to get to it sometimes, was apparently enjoying intimate relations with Alice Scuzz. Yes, we was. Eastman was not her only lover, nor even her favorite. Whether the relationship be more accurately described as open marriage or sex work is not entirely clear, but men who were not her husband often gave Miss Scuzz expensive gifts. Oh, they did. Alexander Horton Sheffield was one of those means. He signed his name A.H. and went by the name of Sandy, the same name as the Scuzz baby. Sheffield, although he was a married man with 2 children, had lived in the Scuzz house until Eastman moved in. Sheffield was tall, handsome, and came from a family with money. Shopping recently for jewelry, Alice Churchill had volunteered to the jeweler that Sheffield was the only man she had ever loved or ever would. Eastman, also married, was the brother-in-law of the man who actually owned the house. While Sheffield lived there, they had told neighbors that he was Miss Scott's stepbrother. Although this was not true, a previous landlady had evicted the family because of the odd relationship between Alice and Sandy. After moving out, Sheffield had continued to visit Miss Scott's friends frequently. About 24 hours after the body was discovered, Sheffield was arrested in connection with the crime. He would live in the shadow of the charges for more than 3 years. Although there was never any real evidence against him, Sheffield had attended a dance at the Schuss house on March 11th. In the company of a 17-year-old girl, Sheffield was 27. He had returned for a visit on the following Sunday under somewhat odd circumstances. Passing by the Scuff's house, he had seen a cow wandering loose about to destroy the laundry hanging on the line. He knocked on the door but was unable to rouse the family, because of course they was all dead. He had put the cow back in the pasture and then tried again to get someone to come to the door. That failing, he had made a curious remark to a neighbor to the effect that the family must all have gone boating and had drowned. Sheffield also told police that he had seen the 3 guns stacked in the Schultz house on Friday night and had seen them under the house on Sunday. None of the weapons had been fired in a long time. Sheffield, who worked as an engineer for a brewery, emphatically denied any knowledge of the crime and gave a rational explanation for the curious remark to the neighbor. He said that he knew that the family intended to go boating on Saturday. When the family seemed to have disappeared, his only thought was that they would not return from the boating expedition. The explanation made sense, and Sheffield was released at the time. Eastman was found with a mosquito net covering his head and Bessie with her head shoved down into the bedclothes. The sheriff theorized that either the murderer had spent considerable time in the house after the crime or he had returned to the house a day later. All of the bodies had been found stacked in one room, but large pools of dry blood was found in a different room, too. There were no indications of a robbery. The house has not been ransacked, and no weapon was found in the house. An axe was later found in a nearby well with bloodstains still visible on the handle. All of the axe had been sitting partially submerged in water. We will see the symptom many times in this book that the sheriff fairly quick understood what had happened here, but then went into denial about it. Several days into the investigation, the sheriff told reporter that the only thing he could figure out was that the crime was committed by a fiend who may have developed a homicidal mania and satisfied his lust for blood, and who had disappeared via the train track after the crime. That was, in fact, exactly what had happened. The man from the train was a homicidal maniac with an insatiable lust for blood, and he had hopped a free train and skipped town 4 days before the crimes were discovered. True. Almost all the crimes in this book, this is one of those that we are or most certain was committed by the man from the train. There are triggers for us beyond the obvious ones like an axe, midnight, the murder of an entire family in one event, and the extreme proximity to the railroad. Things that are like flashing lights saying, this is the guy. This event had 4 of those markers. 1. The heads of the victims being covered with cloth or other items both before and after the crime. True. 2. The house being sealed up tight with the window shades all drawn at the conclusion of the crime. True. The presence of a pre-existing female, essentially nude, among the victims. 4. The bodies being moved around the house purportedly for no obviously reason. As time passed, the sheriff began to feel pressure to solve the crime and began to rummage about for a prosecutable candidate. The sheriff was Archie Anderson. He was sheriff of Harris County for a long time. Colorful information about him can still be found on the web. Some weeks after the murders, a woman named Lydia Howard, named after reporter as Powell, had a mental breakdown. True, she had been at a party the night the Shutters were murdered and was much affected by the murders. She was convicted of lunacy and sent to an insane asylum. Yes, later still, a man named Frank Tunney was arrested in connection with the crime. He had also been at the party. Pressured by police, Tunney confessed to his involvement to the murders and implicated sheriffs as well as Lydia Howard. His story was that the 3 of them had waited after the dance until the family fell asleep and that Sheriff had murdered the family with a window weight while he guarded one door and Miss Howard guarded the other. Tony said that he knew nothing about the murders until after the deed was done. In July 1911, more than a year after the crime, Sheriff and Tony was indicted by a grand jury. Sheriff was released on bond in October of that year and was scheduled to go on trial for the murders on December the 4th, 1911. Okay? And that's basically the story of the axe murderer. Okay. You like to help with this case, you can. I don't do this for the fame or the money. I do it because it's what I love to do. And to the real families of these victims, corporate America will set you up. Thank you, peace, and be safe.